Good morning, viewers. It is our pleasure and privilege to welcome you to this very important session. As you all know, today is commemorated as the Partition Horrors Remembrance Day. It is indeed one of the epochal and tragic events in modern Indian history. We can say with certainty that there have been very few events of similar horror across the globe. Maybe a consideration can be given or a comparison can be made with the Holocaust of Germany. But too many events do not qualify to the nature of horror that was witnessed during India's partition. The concept of Akhanda Bharat was destroyed through this particular event, that is partition. Partition was indeed, as you all know, a major event and a tragic event in our history. To say that 10 to 20 million people, according to conservative estimates, were displaced itself shows the depth and nature of that tragic event. It is said that more than 75,000 women were raped during those very nasty days. It all began perhaps with Jinnah's direct action day, his call for dividing India or destroying India. And the events soon went out of at the hands of everyone, including that of Jinnah. And to think about the fact that this division occurred on the basis of religion is indeed very, very painful. And therefore, after very many years, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in 2021 declared 14th August to be commemorated as Partition Horrors Day. And since 2021, we have been observing this day, not only at IGNOU, but at very many other institutions across the country. Today, we are indeed fortunate that we have a very eminent person who has done very deep research in this. To talk about Dr. Sugeetha, the former director of the International Centre for Sree Narayana Studies, in limited words is not possible. And I will not attempt that also. I leave that task to my colleague, Sree Raja, Assistant Registrar, who will shortly explain in great detail as to the achievements and accomplishments of our very esteemed guest that we have with us today, Dr. Sugeetha. Madam, I have known her for the past 1 year, and ever since I have come in contact with her, I have been amazed and astonished with the level of proficiency that she has in various areas related to history. And we are indeed fortunate that Madam will be today talking about a related area, that is related to partition and post-partition politics of India. And there is no better person, I feel, to talk about this very complex subject than Madam. So it is indeed a very proud privilege and honor today that we have such an eminent personality with us, and it is my privilege indeed to welcome Dr. Sugeetha to this session. Madam, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
We also have our Assistant Registrar, Sree Raja. We have Sree Rajendran Pillai, the Assistant Section Officer, and all our colleagues from Regional Centre Trivandrum, and our colleagues from other regional centers and other centers spread across the country who have, at our invitation, logged on to this session. I'm sure it is going to be a very, very interesting and very, very erudite session. So please stay tuned right till the end. If you have any queries or comments that you need to raise on this platform, please do put them in the chat. Towards the end of the session, we'll take them one by one. So without much ado, let me welcome Sree R. Raja, our Assistant Registrar, to take over from me and give a brief description of the very many accomplishments of our very, very erudite guest, Dr. B. Sugeetha. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Pranam. Respected Senior Regional Director, sir, Dr. M. Rajesh, and most respected guest, Dr. Sugeetha B. Madam, and all my colleagues, and a very warm, pleasant good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all who present here for the wonderful webinar on partition and contemporary politics in India. As a part of Partition Horrors Remembrance Day 2024, a special thanks to welcome our guest of the day. I am delighted to introduce our chief guest and most respected Dr. Sugeetha B. Madam. Madam has warmly accepted our invitation to join today's event. First of all, on behalf of Indira Gandhi National Open University Regional Centre Trivandrum, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest. Madam is an accomplished individual in the field of partition and contemporary politics in India, and also a resource person. Madam was a former director of the International Center for Sree Narayana Guru Studies under the government of Kerala. She has been worked as a lecturer in Sri Shankaracharya Sanskrit University, Calicut Providence Women's College, and Sri Narayana College, Chembarathi, Trivandrum. Very beautiful. And also, she has served as the senior resource officer at the State Institute of Languages under Government of Kerala. Really great, madam. Really great. And she has authored 2 biographies about Bala Gangadhar Tilakan and Swadi Shubhimani Ramakrishna Pillai. Ramakrishna Pillai, a famous Indian writer and journalist. You all are well aware. And she has published numerous articles on Sri Narayana Guru and Guru Darshan and in periodical. That is, she has authored 7 books about Sri Narayana Guru. That is, first one, the Sri Narayana Guru Janapaditya Darshanam, Sri Narayana Guru Jivida Darshanam, Sri Narayana Guru Parisiddhi Darshanam, Sri Narayana Guru Sambatikya Darshanam, and Sri Narayana Guru Guruvari, Sri Narayana Guru Advitirada Riti Bagangal, Sri Narayana Guru Guru Tirtham, almost all about Sri Narayana Guru. Really, we are impressed and we are blessed by telling so many Narayana Guru's name with all these things. And I once again thank for the madam's benign present to this event. Lot of things to explain about madam. Because of the time constraint, we want to take more information from madam to spread for our viewers who are presenting this event. Now, I request and I over to madam to give a brief about the partition and contemporary politics in India. Thank you, madam. Please welcome to the platform, and I request you to present further things. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. May I start?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Namaskar to all. Respected Director Dr. Rajesh and Sri Mr. Raja and Rajendran Pillai and others. Without any formalities, I am directly going to my paper. As part of Partition Horrors Remembrance Day, I am going to deliver a speech about partition agony and contemporary Indian politics. Let me start with a definition. What is partition? What do you mean by partition in our paper, in the context of our paper. Partition in the context of geopolitical history that we are discussing. In geopolitical history, partition refers to the division of a country or region into separate, often politically distinct entities. This process usually involves drawing new boundaries, which can result in the creation of new states or the reorganization of the existing ones. Partitions are often driven by political, ethnic, religious, and colonial motives and can occur during or after conflicts, colonial withdrawals, or the collapse of empires. What are the notable examples of such partition? One, as all we know, the partition of India in 1947 and the partition of Palestine and the partition of Germany. Yes, Germany was reunited in the year 1990 with the fall of Berlin Wall. That we are not discussing about all these partitions. We are directly going to the partition of India. And before going to the contemporary politics, let me discuss some agonies which people face as a result of partition. The partition of India in 1947 was a catastrophic event, as Dr. Rajesh sir mentioned, that led to immense sufferings and left deep scars on the subcontinent. The partition agonies refers to various forms of drama, loss, and suffering experienced by millions during and after the division of British India into two as India and Pakistan. The first agony we are going to discuss, that is mass displacement and migration. There was mass displacement and migration. Approximately 15 million people were forced to migrate across the newly drawn borders, making it one of the largest migrations in human history. Hindus, Sikhs, Hindus and Sikhs moved from Pakistan to India, while Muslims moved from India to Pakistan. The migration was marked by chaos, with people leaving their homes, lands, and belongings behind. The journey was perilous, with many traveling on foot in overcrowded trains or by bullock carts, often without adequate food, water, and or shelter. And the next partition agony we are going to discuss, that is, there was communal violence. Partition triggered unprecedented communal violence with large-scale massacres, riots, and pogroms occurring on both sides of the border. Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs all suffered atrocities, with entire villages being wiped out. The violence was brutal, with widespread killings, rapes, and abductions. The exact number of casualties is unknown, but estimates suggest that between 1 and 2 million people lost their lives in the communal violence. The violence was fueled by years of communal tension, exacerbated by the uncertainty and fear of the partition. And another agony which we are facing even now, the refugee crisis. The displacement of millions led to a massive refugee crisis in both India and Pakistan. Refugees arrived in overcrowded camps where they faced dire conditions, including lack of food, water, sanitation, and medical care. Many refugees were unable to reclaim their lost properties and had to start their lives from scratch in unfamiliar environment. The refugee crisis strained the resources of the newly independent nations, leading to widespread poverty and suffering among the displaced populations. And the next agony we are going to discuss, that is, there was loss of home and property. For those who were forced to migrate, the loss of home and property was a profound agony. Families that had lived in the same place for generations were suddenly uprooted, losing their homes, land, and possessions. Many people were forced to abandon their ancestral homes, leaving behind their livelihoods and the communities they had known all their lives. The loss of home was not just a material loss, but also a deep emotional and cultural trauma. That is very important. The loss of home was not just a material loss, but also a deep emotional and cultural trauma. And next, agony, separation of families. Partition led to the separation of countless families. In the chaos of migration, many families were divided, with members ending up on opposite sides of the border. Some families lost their contact with their relatives forever, while others were reunited only after years of searching. The pain of separation was compounded by the uncertainty of the future and the fear of the safety of loved ones. The trauma of these separations continues to affect the descendants of those who lived through partition. And the next important agony that even now it is continuing, we are facing this agony, that is gendered violence. Women bore the burden of partition's violence in particularly horrific ways. There were widespread reports of women being abducted, raped, and forcibly converted. Thousands of women were kidnapped and taken across the border, where they were often forcibly married or sold into slavery. Many women were subjected to brutal violence as part of the communal communal revenge attacks. In some cases, women were killed by their own families. That is very pathetic. Women were killed by their own families to protect their honor or to prevent them from being violated by attacks. The suffering of these women has often been overshadowed in the modern narratives of Pakistan. Modern narratives of partition. There is a book written by Urvashi, and the title of the book is The Other Side of Silence. This book reveals the pathetic condition of women and female child at the time of partition. In the female child, and women left as orphans, and they wandered from here and there in Pakistan. And when Jawaharlal Nehru came to know about this, he asked Jayalakshmi Pandit to protect these children, and they were brought here and now protected here in India. And all these are explained in Urvashi's book, The Other Side of Silence. And another agony which is still continuing, that is psychological trauma. The psychological trauma of partition was profound and long lasting. Those who lived through the violence, displacement, and loss of loved ones were deeply affected, with many suffering from traumatic stress disorder, so PTSD, depression, and other mental health issues. The trauma was not just individual but also collective, as entire communities grappled with the horrors they had experienced. The memories of partition have been passed down through generations, contributing to ongoing tensions and mistrust between countries. And next important agony of partition is cultural and social dislocation. That is also very important. Partition resulted in significant cultural and social dislocation. Communities that had lived together for centuries were suddenly divided by religious and national boundaries. The shared cultural heritage of the subcontinent was fractured with the newly created borders separating families, friends, and neighbors. The social fabric of regions like Punjab, Bengal, and Sindh was torn apart, leading to the loss of cultural traditions, languages, and ways of life. The dislocation also led to the ensure of shared histories and the creation of new, often antagonistic national identities. Then another agony faced through the partition period is economic disruption. Partition caused severe economic disruption. The sudden division of the subcontinent disrupted trade, agriculture, and industry. Key economic regions such as Punjab and Bengal were split between India and Pakistan, leading to the loss of resources and markets. Many businesses were destroyed or abandoned, and the economy of both countries suffered in the immediate aftermath of partition. The refugee influx also strained the economies of both nations as they struggled to provide for the displaced populations. And another partition again is political and administrative challenges. The partition of India presented enormous political and administrative challenges. The creation of two new nations required the division of assets, the establishment of new governments, and the management of border disputes, etc. The division of the armed forces, civil services, and other institutions was a complex and contentious process. The hastily drawn borders led to ongoing disputes, particularly over the region of Kashmir, which remains a flashpoint in India Pak relations. The political challenges of partition have had long lasting implications for both countries, shaping their domestic and foreign policies for decades. Then let us discuss one more agony of partition, that is legacy of distrust and hostility. This also even now it is continuing between India and Pakistan. Distrust and hostility. The agony of partition created a legacy of distrust and hostility between India and Pakistan that persists to this day. The violent birth of two nations set the stage for a bitter rivalry, with both countries engaging in wars, border skirmishes, and a nuclear arms race. The unresolved issues of partition, particularly the Kashmir conflict, continue to fuel tensions between the two neighbors. The legacy of partition has also influenced the internal politics of both countries, with communal and sectarian tensions often surfacing in political discourse. Now, let us go to the what is in connection with the partition. What are the things influenced in the contemporary Indian politics? I am not going in detail. I just mentioned some of the influences, or how do the agonies influence in framing the foreign policies and internal policies of, and how it affect the Indian politics, contemporary Indian politics. The legacy of partition has had a profound influence on the development of contemporary Indian politics. This legacy can be seen in the rise of nationalism, the shaping of national identity, and the ongoing tension between India and Pakistan. Of course, it influenced the shaping of national identity and also rise of Hindu nationalism. Partition played a critical role in shaping India's national identity. The trauma of partition reinforced the idea of a secular India where all religions could exist peacefully. This vision was championed by leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, who sought to build a nation that would rise above the communal hatred unleashed by partition. However, the secular identity of India has been challenged repeatedly by communal forces. The tension between a secular, inclusive national identity and a religiously defined national identity continues to shape contemporary Indian politics. The ongoing debates over secularism and minority rights and the role of religion in public life are deeply rooted in the history of partition. Now, let us go to India Pak relations. The partition of India and Pakistan laid the foundation for one of the most enduring and contentious rivalries in the world. The two countries have fought three major wars and numerous skirmishes, primarily over the disputed region of Kashmir, which itself is a legacy of partition. The partition not only created two hostile neighbors, but also instilled a deep seated mistrust that has shaped their foreign policies. In India, the narrative of Pakistan as an existential threat has been a recurring theme in political discourse. This narrative has been used by various political parties to consolidate national unity and to justify policies that might otherwise be contentious. The partition also left unresolved issues such as the status of religious minorities in both countries, the treatment of Muslims in India and Hindus and Sikhs in Pakistan continues to be a sensitive issue, often exploited by political leaders on both sides to stroke nationalist sentiments. Now, there is influence or impact on domestic politics. The legacy of partition has also had a significant impact on domestic politics in India. The creation of Pakistan as a Muslim majority state left India with a large Muslim minority, whose integration into the national fabric has been a continuing challenge. The fear of being treated as second class citizen has haunted Indian Muslims, influencing their political behavior and the policies of successive governments. Political parties in India have often used the legacy of partition to polarize voters along communal lines. The debate over the Citizenship Amendment Act, that is CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act, and the National Register of Citizens, NRC, is a recent example of how the issues rooted in partition continue to influence Indian politics. The Citizen Amendment Act, which offers a pathway to citizenship for non Muslim refugees from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan, has been criticized for discriminating against Muslims and undermining the secular principles of Indian constitution. Then partition memory in contemporary culture, that is also very important. The memory of partition is not just a political tool, but also a significant cultural force in India. We must take this as such. The partition has been a central theme in Indian literature, cinema, and art, reflecting the collective trauma of the event. Works such as Kushwant Singh's Train to Pakistan and Sadat Hassan Mando's Toba Tek Singh offer poignant insights into the human cost of partition. Bollywood films like Garam Hawa and Earth have also explored the emotional and psychological impact of partition. These cultural representations serve as a reminder of the horrors of partition, keeping the memory alive in the public consciousness. They also influence contemporary debates about identity, nationalism, and communalism, providing a lens through which to understand current political dynamics. And one more cultural impact you can see in contemporary Indian politics. That is the role of collective memory in shaping contemporary politics. Collective memory, the shared pool of knowledge and information held by a community about its past, plays a significant role in shaping contemporary politics. It influences how societies understand their identities, values, and the legitimacy of their political institutions. Let us verify some of the impacts. First one, national identity and unity. Collective memory often forms the basis of national identity. By remembering certain historical events such as revolutions, wars, and founding moments, nations create a narrative that unites citizens around common values and goals. This sense of shared history can foster national cohesion and justify political actions aimed at preserving the nation. And political legitimacy. The next one is political legitimacy. Governments and political leaders often invoke collective memory to legitimize their role. By linking current policies or regimes to revered historical figures or events, they aim to create a sense of continuity and stability. For example, a government might emphasize a nation's struggle for independence to justify its sovereignty or resistance to external influence. And another influence of collective memory, that is social movements and change. Collective memory can be a powerful tool for social movements. Activists often draw on past struggles for rights and justice to inspire contemporary movements. The memory of civil rights struggle, for example, continues to inform movements for racial equality today, providing a historical context that strengthens their demands. When One more thing, collective conflict and division. On the flip side, collective memory can also perpetuate conflicts. Different groups within a society may remember the past in conflicting ways, leading to tensions or even violence. In post conflict societies, competing memories of events like wars and genocides can hinder reconciliation and exacerbate divisions. Policy and decision making. Collective memory also influence policy and decision making. Collective memory influences policy decisions, especially in areas like education, commemoration, and foreign policy. Decisions on what to include in history curricula, which events to commemorate, and how to interact with other nations are often informed by collective memory. For example, countries might pursue reparations or apologies for historical injustices based on the collective memory of those events. And collective memory also affects cultural representation. Collective memory is preserved and transmitted through cultural institutions like museum, monuments, literature, and film. These representations shape how society remembers the past and can be used to reinforce or challenge dominant political narratives. So, in short, collective memory is a key factor in contemporary politics, influencing everything from national identity and social movements to conflict resolution and policy making. How societies remember and interpret their past can deeply impact their present and future political landscape. So, we have discussed some of the agonies of partition, which directly affect the people of India and Pakistan, and the impact of these agonies in framing foreign policies and domestic policies, and the cultural drama which is continuing even now, and the disputes between borders, etc., etc. And now let us conclude by these words. The agony of partition continues to cast a long shadow over contemporary Indian politics. The events of 1947 not only shaped the political landscape of South Asia, but also left a legacy of trauma, mistrust, and division that persists to this day. In India, the memory of partition has been instrumental in the rise of Hindu nationalism, the shaping of national identity, and the ongoing tension with Pakistan. As India continues to grapple with the challenges of religious pluralism, secularism, and national unity, the legacy of partition remains a powerful force influencing political discourse, policy decision, and cultural narratives. Understanding the enduring impact of partition is essential to addressing the complexities of contemporary Indian politics and building a more inclusive and peaceful future. Let me stop with these words. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Your presentation was very incisive. There were a lot of issues which were out of focus, and over the years we have seen that the imprinting partition and the horrors of partition have continued to haunt not only the citizens of India but a wider cross section of population. And the horrors those who are witnessed during the partition days have been very well encapsulated in a number of literary works as well. If you look at the work of Pushpan Singh, Train to Pakistan, then you have The Other Side of Silence by Urvashi Utalia, then you have The Night's Diary, Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, and a lot of other literature. In fact, we have seen that partition and its horror occupy a large segment of those works as well. And today, in a brief presentation, you have covered the entire gamut of issues which are most important as far as the issue of partition is concerned. I think, and thank you, madam, for that very well thought of and well written presentation. It was definitely this will go into the archives. This video will definitely be part of the archives, and our students and people from other parts of who are not directly associated with IGNOU will also be visiting these videos, and they will also all be gaining a lot in the future as well through this presentation. So I feel there are a few questions also which have been put forth by our viewers. Sajid, could you display them one by one? Okay. Sari S. Nair, she is asking the question, how the partition of India affects the contemporary politics in India. Ma'am, your take on that?
Yes, I am explaining all my points. I am explaining the whole paper is about how the partition of India affects the contemporary politics in India. And how
Yes, ma'am. Maybe she wants the major points in which the focus can be laid.
Especially in framing domestic and foreign policies, and there are border issues like Kashmir, and solving. There are unresolved problems like religion, and then it affects the economic situation of India in almost all fields. Partition affects almost all fields, socially, culturally, politically, all fields.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from my own family. I do not know who exactly that is, but can you explain the need of partition of India?
That is a wonderful question. I don't think that there is a need to partition to part India again into different states. You want to divide India into different states? I don't know.
I
What is
think
your
he or she is asking about the basic need why partition happened
oh,
between India and Pakistan.
yes. What is the need for partition? There are. I have to explain the influence of the British. The British, they had divide and rule policy, and there are what's it? Nehru and Jinnah, the role of Nehru and Jinnah, and the decision of Gandhi. And I can't say a uh, single cause or single reason for partition of India. There are several issues, several facts which which suppressed or which um, Gandhiji take such a decision. And there are many issues there. You see. Many reasons. Mainly the British policy. I think so. And the British from the beginning, they wanted to divide and rule India. They wanted to divide the unity of Hindus and Muslims in India. They thought that without splitting Muslims and Hindus, they can't rule perfectly. They can't uh, rule the people of India or control the people of India. The Muslim Hindu unity was a threat to them.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. There is another question.
How might understanding?
How might understanding the partition of India help in addressing current regional conflicts or promoting reconciliation?
Partition of India help in addressing current regional conflicts or promoting reconciliation. These regional conflicts are as a result of partition of India, and how it could help. Regional conflicts are as a result of partition of India, and how partition of India help addressing current regional politics. I don't know. Can you explain the question again?
Uh, this is a question from one of the viewers, so we are also limited in our understanding of what they mean. How might understanding of partition of India current regional conflicts, because there are so many regional conflicts which are currently in place between India,
How,
Pakistan, Bangladesh, India.
how
yes,
Uh,
the how the
yes,
understanding will help in
yes, there are many conflicts. And we have been discussing that these regional conflicts and religious conflicts or religious unrest or mistrust, all these are because of the partition of India. And how the partition of India help in addressing there is a question, I think. How might understanding the partition of India help?
how the understanding of the partition of India help in addressing the current regional conflict?
Yes, yes, that is a nice question. Yes, we must see what are the situations which contributed the partition of India. Yes, we must be aware of the situation which promoted the partition of India. Then uh, we can be cautious not to again not to face such a situation again, and we can avoid the current regional conflicts. And when we have to consider the agonies of partition of India or the entire phenomena, and how the leaders interfere, or leaders how they the initiative take by the leaders, and all these things, if we understand well, we can address the regional conflicts. And I can't there are many other suggestions also, but uh, to answer a question, I think I should say this much only.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. In fact, I feel, do our panelists have anything to add on this? Dr. Satyakirti has also joined, and of course, Sri Raja is already with us. So, anything to add on to
Yes,
what?
if somebody want to add, they are welcome to add.
Yeah.
in fact, it was a very nice presentation. You were pointing out on different aspects of partition and how it is relevant to the present political situation in India. And in fact, there were many relevant questions related with why partition has happened in how it can be correlated with the the, the regional conflicts that are taking place across the country, and how it will help the knowledge of partition, how it will help in in solving the problems, or how it can help in uh, reducing those conflicts. Those were the questions. So it was in fact, it was a nice presentation with many of the aspects, like the cultural agony, the divisions of the families, then gender violence. So we were explaining out different aspects. So it was nicely explained. It was a nice presentation from your part. Thank you very much.
Sree Raja, anything you wish to add? I think you are on mute. Kindly unmute yourselves.
Yeah. Today it was very wonderful event. Madam was explained very beautifully. And the viewers who are interested, they can log into the YouTube channel and they also can view this information. And it was very nice to hear this program today. Very it's amusing. And as Madam also was very much associated with Narayana Guru Jain. So as a token of Regional Centre Trivandrum, as a token of IGNOU family, as a token of entire Kerala community, we wish an advance Narayana Guru Jayanti, which is going to observe on August 20th. That is Mangala Divasam. Mangala Divasam is Tuesday. It's a state festival of Kerala. So I wish on behalf of that. And with that, I would like to thank Madam for coming. And I like to thank our Senior Regional Director also, and Dr. Satyakirti also, and Mr. Sajid, who is technically supporting our system. So I would like to thank one and all. Thank you.
Sree Rajendra Pillai, would you like to add anything? Are you online? Okay, I think there is some problem with that. So to conclude the session, may I request our Assistant Regional Director, Dr. T.R. Satyakirti, to present a formal vote of thanks.
In fact, the Partition Horror Remembrance Day talk was an excellent talk, and there were lots of points that were raised. On which the discussions has happened, and on behalf of the IGNOU Regional Centre Trivandrum and all the participants in this particular webinar, I thank you, ma'am, for making an excellent presentation. Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to thank our Senior Regional Director, Dr. M. Rajesh, for coordinating with this program and giving an excellent additions to this presentation. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank our Registrar, Rajan, sir, for giving his comments. Thank you very much on behalf of IGNOU Regional Centre Trivandrum. I would also like to thank all my colleagues, Sree Rajendran Pillai and all others who were present for this presentation. I also thank all the viewers who were viewing this program, as well as who have raised several questions on this particular presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and I would also request all the other viewers or other students and others who would like to view this presentation, and it's already being recorded. It would be available to you. You can view this and put your comments. And I thank you all on behalf of on behalf of IGNOU Regional Centre Trivandrum for making this program a grand success. Thank you.
And last but least, I would like to give small information to all the viewers of Kerala, apart from Kerala, anywhere, any part of India. IGNOU admission is going on. Indira Gandhi National Open University admission is going on. Now today we have ranked #1 in distance education, as the Honorable Education Minister has awarded us our #1 distance education in India. So IGNOU students are those who are admitted, those who are already admitted, and those who are already under process. Today is the last date. to pay the payment, to upload the document, and to submit their application form, whatever it is. Today is the last date. So kindly I request to take opportunity to apply for all their admission process, etc. With this, I would like to thank one and all. Thanks.
Thank you, Sugeetha Madam, Satyagati ji, Raja ji, Rajendra ji, and a special mention to Mr. Sajid, who has been doing all the technical activities for bringing this program across to you, and all my colleagues at the Regional Centre for helping us in organizing such programs. Thank you one and all, and we will meet with another session and another program. Thank you.
Thank you.